Asked? Well, I'm glad you asked. Today's subject is probably going to be a bit controversial, which is fine with me because I enjoy a little debate. I'm just going to get my opinion out there right now. The subject is CGI versus practical effects. Now, anybody that knows me knows that I love practical effects, or at least prefer them over CGI. I guess first off, I'm going to give my reason why I prefer practical effects over CGI. Do practical effects always look better than CGI? No. No, they do not. But here is why I enjoy them more. If you sit in a movie and you see a really cool effect, you're like, wow, that's really cool. And this is gonna sound kind of weird, but I prefer practical effects because if you see an effect that's practical and it's really cool, it may bring you out of the movie for a second, but it's fun to sit there or even after the movie and think, wow, how did they do that? Like, really, it's more of a magic kind of feeling of like, wow, how did they do that? Did they build that? Was that real? How did they do that effect? When you have CGI, you can see a really cool effect and you'll be like, wow, that was really cool. And then you go on. There's no wonder. It takes all the wonder out of it because you're like, oh, well, they just used a computer. Also, practical effects. Here's my number one pet peeve. CGI blood. If you're using CGI blood, you are a lazy filmmaker. Could you really not go out to go to the damn grocery store and get corn syrup and red food coloring? It's that easy. It really is. Do that. I think it looks better. The actors react better when they have actual stuff on than if you just like, yeah, we'll add it in post. Which brings me to my other thing. Is when I said that practical effects are not always as good as CGI. There are movies that work very well with CGI. I enjoy CGI if it's there for an art style, or that's the feeling of the movie, like Tron. That's the feeling. It's supposed to feel fake or like a computer. Or a better example is Sin City, which is like almost all green screen and CGI. That works really well because that sets the tone and the mood of that movie, and I love that movie. However, if you are too lazy to just build an animatronic and work with it, then another pet peeve of mine is that I know a few people in Hollywood that do that for a living. That's how they make their money, is by building these things, these animatronics, these setting these explosions, these effects, these blood and gore and stuff like that. That's how they make their living. And now they told me that they'll go into like an interview, and the first half of the interview will go great, and then they'll be like, "So do you work with computers?" And when they say no, they say you can tell that the rest of the interview is just a pity interview to just, I don't know, not immediately say, no thanks, but then they never get a call back. Now, there are some practical effects that don't work well, like I said, but when practical effects work, they work really well. Plus, you can also combine CGI with practical effects. That's fine. I mean, CGI was originally around to erase wires and do stuff like that to actually enhance the practical effects, and that's really what it should be used for. Or for things, but if you're using CGI to make a set because you don't want to go and build it, that's just lazy. Uh, a really good example of practical effects that have been used recently is the new Evil Dead remake reboot. That's great. Like, practical effects work amazing with, like, down and dirty, gritty, bloody, gory movies. That's where it should definitely be used. Because there were a couple effects in Evil Dead. I've seen some of the worst movies that you can think of. And there were some things in that that actually made me cringe. Because I don't know how to explain it. It's just the substance of it being there. If you see somebody like get their arm cut off or something, and it's actually there on the set of an arm being ripped off or torn off or cut off, and you see the bone poking out and like blood going everywhere, that affects me a lot more than if it's like a CGI one, because it always has a CGI feel to it. Another good example of where CGI works well with animatronics is Jurassic Park. That's a perfect example, but that's because they do CGI the right way. I saw the re-release a month or two ago, and it was actually really well done in 3D. But here's where it comes to. People don't do CGI right anymore. The dinosaurs in Jurassic Park look astounding because they don't have that much detail. Let's do an experiment right now. You can't see like the individual pores on the A-Team right here space. You can't see it. But now you get CGI and they put so much detail into it that it makes it look fake, because that's not how the human eye would what's the word I'm looking for? That's not how it would interpret that. You don't see the individual pores on my face. You can see some of them, maybe, yes, but you can't see each and every little detail. And that's what they're doing. They're making it too detailed. Maybe if it was like right up to the camera, yeah, but like when you've got a monster that's halfway back off the screen, you shouldn't be able to see every single little tiny hair. One place where CGI doesn't belong whatsoever are disaster movies. Because that's why I go to a disaster movie. I go to see shit get destroyed. If you are CGIing crap, 2012 is the perfect example of a disaster movie that CGI'd everything and it didn't look good. But you watch my review. Oh crap! It's not up. We did a podcast for that, and we got on disaster movies, and I talked about that. But it's like that movie's a whole different example of why it's bad. It's not the CGI; it's everything else. But yeah, that's why I go. I like to see crap get destroyed. But yeah, when you CGI that, it kind of takes away the effect. So that's I think that pretty much sums up my views on CGI and practical effects. I just enjoy practical effects because it makes the movie, it's movie magic. It really is. If you watch the first Alien and you realize that all those aliens are just like puppets, that's astounding. The fact that we can create something like that is astounding. It's amazing. It makes you wonder, what else could we make? Why stop there? We could make all kinds of stuff. And that's really where my beef comes to it. Is that I feel like the more and more that we shun away from practical effects, the more and more we push out the magic and wonder of movies. And that's why I love movies, and that's why I want to be involved with movies. Is because I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to suspend somebody's disbelief enough to have like dinosaurs or something awesome like that happen. I want people to be like, wow, how did they do that? That's it. Even Harry Harry Potter used animatronics and CGI, and that worked well. So I'm not saying, it's not even really a versus thing. It's just that if people would use both of them together, not use just one, not use just the other, but if they blend them together perfectly, it looks really great. I mean, Harry Potter, that whole series looks amazing. So yeah, just, it needs compromise. Don't go all CGI. Don't go all practical. I think that pretty much sums it up. Thank you for watching. This episode ran pretty long, but I had to get to a lot of points. So thanks for sticking with me through this whole movie, or video, or episode, whatever you want to call it. Okie doke. See you next time on Movie Talk.